Welcome back to Season Liberally. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be testing out a cooking meme that I found online. I found it on Reddit. We're going to see if adding a few ingredients to a box cake mix can create a better bakery tasting cake. Stick around. So recently I was browsing Reddit, came across a meme that showed how to use a box method cake and then add just a couple ingredients, and they say it can taste like it came right from the bakery. So we're going to be doing 3 tests today. The first one, of course, is just following the meme directly. So the baking meme reads, do you want your cake to taste like it came from a bakery? Follow these steps. 1. Read the directions on the cake mix. 2, add 1 more egg or 2 for an even richer cake. 3, replace the oil with melted butter and double the amount. 4, replace the water with an equal amount of milk. And 5, mix and bake according to package directions. So, for the cake I'm making, it's going to be the same cake mix, and it's going to replace the cup of water for a cup of milk. I'm going to replace the half a cup of oil with a full cup of melted butter, and I'm going to add 2 eggs. Now the top comments all said to add pudding to the mix, so I am going to change the water out to milk, but follow the directions with 3 eggs, a half cup of oil, and then I'm going to add a full package of vanilla pudding to the mix. Now, I'm adding milk instead of water because it says on the side, you can ingredient swap if you like. Replace water with, and it says 1 cup of your favorite dairy or plant milk. So the control cake is just going to have water, oil, and eggs. Won't have any special ingredients. So my prediction is that it's actually going to work. And the reason why I think it's going to work is we're going to be melting down this butter, and we're going to be using this as oil. Well, butter is a solid at room temperature. So whereas if we were to double the oil in this recipe, it might be greasy. My thought is that the butter actually will make it so it doesn't feel as greasy at room temperature. So when the cake does finally cool and we cut into it, it will taste good. I don't think we're adding too much butter to this. Adding eggs as well is gonna firm this up. So the more eggs I put in, the more it's gonna be firm because we're gonna be coagulating the protein in these whites, and the yolks will give it richness. So I think that adding these 2 things to it will actually create a cake that I think is going to work. The other thing we have to remember too is that most of these box mix cakes, they are pretty much fail-proof. The ingredients and the method make it so that when you create this cake, chances are you're not going to screw it up. You could maybe leave it out for a few minutes. You could walk away from it. You could put it in an oven that's cold and then start it up later. You could maybe not add everything that's needed or add too much of something, and it'll probably still turn out okay. These cakes are made to have a range of where they can fail and where they can't, because they're made for people who aren't measuring things out and being very scientific with what they're baking. I want to talk for a second about box method cakes. If you're just interested in the results of this experiment, I'm going to put a time code below. You could just click, fast forward to that if that's all you're interested in. But I do want to talk for a second about these box method cakes. Very often as a cooking hobbyist, we'll wind up making fun of these types of cakes and this type of meal, ready to eat, very quick, very easy, simply prepared box meal. And I want to say, it comes off sometimes a little bit like gatekeeping. We don't need to put other people down to let people know that we can cook something else, right? We don't need to put them down and make them feel bad about something that they made or something that they like. We can also introduce them to other things without putting this down. We very often just turn our nose up at this and say, oh, that's not good food, that's not good food. No, that's just being a gatekeeper. The first 50 cakes I ever baked were box method cakes. It's okay to like something that comes out of a box. And often, people who decorate cakes just use box method cakes because it's easier. If you're just interested in how the cake looks and not really terribly interested in how the cake tastes at the end, Many times these will work just fine. My mom was a baker for 25 years, and she almost exclusively used box method cakes, and she was a cake decorator. Another thing that can come off a little snobbish is we'll turn our nose up at these, and we're sort of making fun of people who might be food insecure. Food insecurity is a real problem in our country, and so someone who's just going to have a box method cake, this to them is kind of a lifesaver. Now, I know there's going to be people probably in the comments who will say, well, hey, they could go and grab some flour and sugar and eggs and they could make a bunch of cakes for a fraction of the money, and that might be true. But understand that if you are someone who works a lot of hours for not a lot of money, you don't have time to research a recipe. You also just don't have disposable money if that recipe fails just to throw it away. This is a pretty fail-proof cake, and it's gonna be the same every single time, and you don't have to spend that extra time that you might not even have researching and creating a cake from scratch. So I want people to recognize that when we talk about things that are in the box, that are ready to eat, while we should, of course, always try to make wholesome, good quality food, some people can't afford that, and then some people don't have the time to make it. All right, let's get going. Let's start making these cakes. Okay, so we have baked all 3 cakes. This is the first one. This is the following the exact box method. Looks good, actually. It's domed in the top, exactly how you'd want a cake to look. This is the one with the pudding, and it fell, actually, as you can see here. It fell here, and then when I touched it, it broke. So, but it's not in terrible shape, and if you just flipped it over, you could easily frost it. So it's not a big deal, and it definitely feels a little more dense. This cake actually took 5 extra minutes to cook too. This cake, as you can see, is domed in the center. This is the one with all the additives. So this is the one with the extra eggs. It has butter instead of oil, and it has milk. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut each one. We're gonna frost it with some of this store-bought frosting, and then we're gonna see how each one tastes. All right, so first piece of cake, this is box method. Nothing different. This is our baseline control cake. Nice spring. That's a really average cake. You probably wouldn't be super sad if you picked it up at like a potluck. It's not terrible, but it's certainly nothing to write home about. If you got that served to you in a nice restaurant, you'd be upset. Pudding added. Here we go. It's better. It's not amazing, but it has a better flavor to it. I think it's easily 50% better than just straight box method. It's got a good aftertaste. It's got a more rich flavor to it, and it's definitely got a lot more creaminess. So it's the same sort of level of sweetness, but it's definitely more creamy. Solid. To be honest, solid taste. Really good. If we're just adding a thing of pudding to it, outstanding in my opinion. All right. Now this is the meme cake. This is the one that they said, cook it all up, put it all in there. This has got butter instead of oil. It's got extra eggs in it. Let's give it a shot. You can already tell it's a little more dense than the other ones. It's actually lighter. It's got a lot of air. It feels like it's a lighter feel of the cake. Yeah, where that one, the previous one, had a lot of body to it. It's very dense. This one's not at all. It's very airy. I'm gonna taste the cake itself. It's really not bad as a vehicle for something like frosting or something. It wouldn't be terrible. Now, it did work, and I think it tastes good. But to be honest, my favorite cake so far of these is the one with the pudding in it. It's easier to do, and it tastes really good. It's got a good flavor to it. This one also is good, but it definitely has a lot more oil in it. You can feel that butter. You can feel there's a lot of butter and if you like that kind of mouthfeel, this might be the one you want to go with. Both of these are superior to the box method. They don't look as good coming out, but they definitely taste way better. So thanks for joining us today on Season Liberally. I'd like to try some more of these things out. So if you come across a little note or a meme where someone is suggesting to do something with cooking, send me a link. I'd love to take a look at it. Put it in a comment. I'll take a look at it and I'll see if I can maybe turn it into a show. Please subscribe, like, share the channel, all that stuff. And we're going to catch you next time. Take care.